Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's episode of Mentorship Mike. We have Isaac Wright with us, Isaac being Wright. We're excited to have him on. And Khaleesi, our student at Brigham Young University. Do you want to read the quick bio on Isaac?
Sure thing. Isaac Bing Wright is a literary scout for CTL Scouting who sources books, graphic novels, and podcasts for adaptation for film and television. He recently directed a documentary, Loving Bing, which was a Big Sky nominee at the Big Sky Film Festival. He has previously worked as a freelance reader for Amazon Studios and The Blacklist, and as an assistant at Verve Talent and Literary Agency and Ramey Productions. Isaac grew up in Santa Barbara and graduated from Brigham Young University with a degree in film and media studies. He currently lives in Los Angeles with his wife Savannah, daughter Ruby, and their two cats, Dante and Lady Bird.
All right. We got the cats too, Isaac. That's great.
They're really important.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Well, hey, we spoke about this yesterday, but the Big Sky Film Fest that you were involved in, that's, I grew up 40 miles southwest of Missoula, Montana, which is where that was held. So, and that was just last year that you went there, right?
It was actually earlier this year. Is that right?
Okay.
Gosh, time all blurs together. No, it was. Yeah. It's been a real kind of wild ride for that documentary. It actually played at Big Sky Film Festival twice, back in its original showing, and then they brought it back as an official edition. Yes, at the
Incredible, incredible. Well, congratulations. We're excited to speak to you today. Maybe start with your
thank you.
occupational journey, what you've done, you know, where you've been, and any maybe mentors that you've had, the impact that they've had on you.
Yeah, great. So yeah, I grew up in Southern California. I studied film at Brigham Young University, and I always knew that I wanted to work in Los Angeles and in Hollywood in the entertainment industry. And so after I graduated, I moved to LA. And my first real, like my starting point, I guess, was in the mailroom at a talent agency, which is a pretty typical kind of entry point for people who are trying to make an entertainment. And in the mailroom, you are answering phone calls, you are getting lunches, you are scurrying around and tidying up the conference rooms in between meetings. It's sort of like all purpose grunt work, but it's a great introduction to the entertainment industry and just kind of the nuts and bolts of what's going on there. So I made it on desk as an assistant, and I think that was probably my first mentorship situation. My boss was a TV agent named Matthew Doyle. And it was a real kind of trial by fire. He was a very, I guess, eccentric and incredibly hardworking boss, and his business was essentially getting TV writers jobs. So helping get them in the rooms where they could get onto shows or write for movies. And so it was a great education just seeing, how that side of the business worked. But then also, talent agencies are real high pressure places. It's a real, you're either going to thrive or you're going to fail. There's not a lot of middle ground at a talent agency. And it was, so that I would say his lesson was definitely, you know, cover your butt. Like if there's anything that's going to go wrong, if it can be pinned on you, then you'll take the fall. So it was very much like, be on top of it. Dot the I's, cross the T's, make sure that like whatever is happening, you are, 100% like in control and can back up and can, if something goes wrong, like make sure you're not the one who's going to take the fall. So that was an interesting experience. I was there. That was kind of through the pandemic. I took a job at Sam Ramey's production company after that, Ramey Productions, which is another real great experience. Just being able to see the process of how a movie got made, and that was fun. From there, I took a step back, and that was where the more freelance aspect of my career came in. I was reading scripts for the Blacklist, which was it's a company here in Los Angeles that kind of sifts through a lot of the a lot of the scripts that are just sorting around, and they're known as tastemakers, right? If a script comes up through the blacklist, if it makes it onto the blacklist, that's kind of a real badge of honor where production companies and studios will take note that that's something worth paying attention to. And so I was reading for them, and I was also reading books for Amazon Studios. That kind of dovetails more into my current job. And what I'm doing now is I work for a book scouting company called CTL Scouting, and our clients are various studios in Hollywood, various production companies. They come to us essentially with mandates. They say, hey, we'd like to make a TV show about, I don't know, a female psychic in a big city, right? And so we'll take that mandate, we'll look around, we'll see what kind of books are coming out, we'll see what's happening, we'll bring them certain books, and we'll kind of pitch them to them. We'll try to drum up interest, and if they are interested, we'll then connect them with the agents and help them hopefully make that deal, get the options so they can turn that book into a movie.
Incredible, incredible. You said one thing at the beginning that I need to double click on a little bit. You said you knew early on that you wanted to work in entertainment and specifically Hollywood. How did you know that? I mean, there had to have been, was your parents or one of your siblings? I guess probably not because you're the eldest. But was somebody into film, or did somebody? How did that interest build in you?
Yeah, no, that's a funny question because growing up, we were not a big like TV watching family. Like, we didn't have like a show that we all gathered around to watch, or like some like certain like thing that we were all into. But I will say, I think kind of what garnered my interest from an early age was my mom loved watching the Academy Awards, the Oscars, Oscar Sunday. She would, like, as soon as church would over, she would just boom, she was gone. She would watch the red carpet. We'd all gather and we'd watch the Oscars. So I think even just like as a kid, growing up, seeing, the awards, seeing the actors, seeing the stars, seeing the statuettes, I think maybe that just like from an early age kind of just like baked into it. Like, oh man, what an amazing career that would be. What a cool and exciting, place to work. And I think, I've never been afraid of a challenge. It's a tough industry, but I think I just kind of had that dream, and I figured I would move to LA and I would give it my best shot and see what happened.
Awesome. Khaleesi, any questions that you'd like to ask right now?
Sure. One question I have is, in one short sentence, what do you love about what you do right now?
Yeah, well, in one short sentence, I would say my job description is to read books and to gossip. And who wouldn't love that? Uh, I think being a book scout is to really have your finger on the pulse of what's happening in Hollywood, right? You're hearing, oh, what are the ideas that people are chasing? What are the films that people want to get made? What are the big concepts? And I think being able to have a sense for that, and especially be able to find books that applies to, is just so much fun. To be able to track down books and to hear rumors and to like sort through the gossip and find out what's true. And then if you can really help your client like get a book and take that to the next step, that's just such a satisfying and exciting moment.
Oh, that's great. Since we are talking faith and media, Isaac, how has your faith tradition helped influence your work day to day? How have you seen that intersect?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. Well, I think, can you guys still hear me? We still good? We still live? Okay, perfect. I think, it's not so much about like looking for like, oh, here are moments where like my faith was a huge part of my job, or it really made a difference in this place. But I think like faith, it should be something that kind of infuses everything that you do. And I've noticed that just as I've been working in this industry, the lessons that my faith has taught me growing up a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. There's certain character traits that have just been so important, right? Like honesty, integrity, doing your best job, kindness, looking out for others. Like those are aspects of my faith that are extremely important to me. And I think they're not necessarily the currency of the realm, in Hollywood or really in any like business setting. So to have those as your outlook, to be looking for opportunities to help and serve and lift up. Like that does it does mark you as different, right? And some might say, oh, that marks you as different in a bad way, right? Like you're trying to help others, you're trying to like look out for others. Like that's, you should be thinking about yourself. But I think that my outlook has always been like, I don't want to necessarily succeed in Hollywood or in any aspect of my life, by shortcutting or shortchanging the values that I live by. And so I think having those as a guiding map has really given me a lot of focus in my career, especially when it has been hard. And, it's a difficult industry. I think having something bigger than myself has been incredibly valuable and incredibly important for me to hold on to. So yeah, I've never regretted having faith and working in this industry. If anything, I think it's been a real help.
Well said. Well said. One additional question, and then Khaleesi, I think we'll go into some 15-minute or 15-second call and response type questions if you want to get one ready. But I would just like to know, Isaac, you are in Hollywood, in LA proper. You're actually doing the day-to-day work. From your vantage point, how is faith perceived in the media that you're involved in? And do you feel like it's represented well? Do you think there are shortcomings? Do you think, I just want to get your thoughts on this. What, from your vantage point, what do you think?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I would say that, there's blind spots, right? I think that, Hollywood has this reputation for being secular. And while that's definitely true to an extent, I don't think that's, the whole picture. I think there's plenty of people of faith who are working in this industry who love to tell stories. But there's a million moving pieces, and getting anything made, frankly, is a miracle in and of itself. And I think a lot of times when you are trying to bring a story to the screen, whether for film or TV, unless your goal really from the beginning is, I want to make sure that these elements of faith and so many revisions and drafts and notes back and forth, that those can really get lost, stripped away, intentionally or unintentionally. I mean, I think some people would say, oh, there's this conspiracy. Oh, we don't want to show any of these types of stories. We can't have any faith in the screen. I don't think that's really the case. I do think that, Hollywood is a business, and like any business, they're trying to make a maximally viable product. They're also trying not to really push any buttons or offend. And so I think maybe the tendency is to play it safe and to really scrub aspects of faith from the screen in a way that leaves our stories poorer. And I think that is something that I would really love to see more of. One thing that I didn't put in the bio, but has been very important to me, is I run this newsletter called Saints and Cinephiles, where I interview members of the Mormon Church, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, who work in the entertainment industry, whether they're active, whether they're semi-active, whether they haven't been active in years. But I really feel like it's important to first just like highlight these stories. There's so many paths in this industry, and I think no one really find the path that people think they're on. That never ends up being the one they end up going down, I guess. But I think just being able to hear these stories, the way people's faith has been a guiding light in their careers, is just really fascinating. I'd also love to change some of the stigma that I think members of our faith community have. I think when I was first telling some of my professors and some of my classmates at BYU that I wanted to move to LA, that I wanted to work in Hollywood, I would say, there's a lot of encouragement, but there's also some, consternation. Some people saying like, oh my gosh, like, what are you thinking? That's Babylon, man. Like, what are you going to do? Like, you'll lose your testimony. You'll be destroyed. You'll go to hell. I mean, I think we need to push back on those sorts of narratives. I think that Hollywood, like any industry, needs more people of faith, people who are willing to live their belief and to try to tell those sorts of stories not seeing getting told. And so part of the reason I started Saints and Cinephiles was to highlight the examples of people who are active in their faith and willing to let that light shine and are working in the industry, whether it's as an actor or a production designer or scout.
Awesome. Great answer. Great answer. Khaleesi, do you have a question you'd like to ask?
Sure. Are we jumping into the mentorship mic, the micro musings? All right. One quality every great literary scout needs.
You gotta love to read. You go really quickly. I don't know how long I'll have an answer, but I'm reading at least 2 books a week, as well as articles or podcasts or graphic novels. So you got to be able to read quickly.
Oh, fun. All right. One word that describes your scouting instinct when you're reading those.
Words describe my scouting instinct. It's got to spark. I think within the first 30 pages, right? I've got to feel something about it that feels unique and undeniable. There's so many books that are just fine, right? So it's got to spark, and I've got to feel that, or else I won't finish it.
Makes sense. Oh, sorry.
Yeah. I'd like to double click on that a little bit. So you've read, I'm sure, thousands of scripts and pitches, right? Or created thousands of pitches at this point. What do you think one thing that you've learned about what makes a story adaptable that most of us lay people wouldn't understand? Is there anything behind the scenes, anything that goes in that formulation that you find to be really important, but for us we'd be oblivious to?
That's a good question. I think I'll say, first of all, just not all great books will become great TV shows or movies. And I think maybe there's sometimes a tendency to think, oh my gosh, this is so wonderful. I think some things really are. Like, they live best in that medium that they're created. And I think sometimes you can find an average book or a mediocre book even that in the right hands can become a really, really great adaptation. It was funny, actually. I was talking to my wife, and she loves the movie Practical Magic, and so she recently got the book to read, and she started reading it. She's like, "Oh my gosh, this book is really not that good," right? But there's that spark there, and so what makes a great adaptation, I think you really have to be looking at like those kernels of those ideas, right? Like, what makes a world feel unique? And I think, what's a character that, regardless of who they are or what they're doing, like, what is something about that character that is just so relatable, that are so pure, that like, you can really connect to it. And so I think it's those big ideas, right? The character, the plot, like the story arc, being able to identify those. I think if those are solid, you can take you can run with it. You can do a lot with it, but the fundamentals have to be there.
Yeah, yeah. So, quick question. I want to talk specifics a little bit. So, I know you worked at Amazon. I don't know if you worked on Robert Jordan's Wheel of Time. I think there were 2 seasons on Amazon. But the books went this way, and the TV series went this way. And a lot of purists were like, hey, what's going on here, right? A lot of the characters were the same in the series and in the books, but their attributes and maybe even their sexuality was different. Any thoughts there?
Sure, yeah. Man, book adaptations, that can be such a heated debate to wade into. And you really, I think now more than ever, we're under pressure to get things right. What I'll say is, like, again, I think they're different mediums, and I think that if you want an exact adaptation, maybe just let that live in your memory. Is honestly what I'll say. I don't want to be controversial, but like, I think if you want something that is exactly like the book, it's never going to be exactly like that, right? Because books, there's so much like interiority. You're in your characters' heads, and that is kind of what's driving the character. And you're seeing that a movie, by its nature, is external, right? So you're seeing the plot, like what's happening. The action is what's driving the character's interiority and reflects it. So you can't always make that exact like one-to-one correlation. That being said, I've seen many questionable changes, and I think sometimes adaptations get it better than others. and there can be a variety of reasons for that. Some are structural, like I mentioned. Others, maybe they're trying to widen the demographics that they think will be interested in it. That might be the basis for a race change or for a sexuality change. And I think those are not like in and of themselves like destructive. I think they can work, but they need to be intentional. If you're doing it just because you're trying to cater to a certain demographic, I think that people are going to feel that ring hollow. But if there is like a real reason for that adaptation, um, that maybe deepens the story or adds to it, some brings in some themes that maybe you wouldn't notice otherwise, or bring some things to the fore that really change it. I think that can be really, really interesting and beneficial to the source material.
Yeah, interesting. Thank you. Khaleesi, do you have one or two more
Uh,
questions? And then, oh, sorry. Khaleesi, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Do you have one or two more questions that you want to ask Isaac? And then we'll kind of get toward the end.
All right. Wanting to go back to your newsletter really quickly. I have loved reading it. And I wanted to ask if you had a moment where you thought in an interview or when you're talking to the people that you're interviewing, this is why I do this work, or this is why I write this newsletter.
Yeah, honestly, I've loved running Saints and Cinephiles, because it's been an opportunity to meet so many people from just so many walks of life. And I think when I started, I really didn't know how it was going to go. Right? Like, would anyone even want to talk to me? And so I started with a lot of friends or family who were in the industry, who were members of the church, just because like they were people who I knew would probably say yes to me. And then and I had a couple of kind of long shot people that I was like, oh man, I don't know if I'd ever get them. Can you still hear me? I'm seeing a little countdown. Okay, we might have unsynced for a second. Anyways, there's a moment where through sort of a friend of a friend of a connection of a friend, I got to sit down with John Heder, obviously of Napoleon Dynamite, Blades of Glory, Surf's Up, all those great movies, right? And that was just like such a surreal movie, because surreal moment, because I had grown up watching those movies. He was one of those actors like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. Oh, he's LDS, that's incredible. And so being able to chat with him and hear about his career, it felt really really surreal in a good way. And then since then, I've had the opportunity to chat with Cinco Paul, who wrote Despicable Me and Schmigadoon, and I just had this fantastic conversation with Brigham Taylor, who executive who kind of he helped genesis the idea for Pirates of the Caribbean and all these other great Disney films. And so being able to see these real creative minds. And hear about their experience, and all of these experiences, by the way, so different, right? There's a million paths into Hollywood. I think that's been so rewarding to kind of to see. So I don't know if I answered your question, but I'm having a blast with it, and I hope to keep talking with plenty of people. And I've honestly been so surprised to learn how many members of the LDS faith are having great success working in the Hollywood entertainment industry.
Incredible, incredible. Well, good. Isaac, we're kind of entering the final few minutes here, but before we let you go, I always love asking the mentors like yourself the pieces of advice, at least 3 pieces of advice, if you have them, that you would give to 20-somethings entering the industry today. When you first came to Hollywood, I'm sure things have changed dramatically. Atlanta's become, and Canada and New Zealand, and a lot of people do shooting over in the UK. So there's, Hollywood has been decentralized a little bit. There's still a large effort to try to make that kind of the capital still. But what would you tell them, 3 pieces of advice that either you wish you had known, or things that are timely, the way the industry has evolved since you entered it?
Yeah. I guess I'll say first, just as one piece of advice, is your network is so important. And the connections you make, the friendships you make are really going to make the difference. And so I think just be robust, right, in your efforts to hop on a Zoom with someone, grab a coffee with someone, or you can get an orange juice, whatever. But like, just you want to meet people, you want to get to know them, but at the same time, it can't just be a means to an end. You don't want to be that person who you sit down, you can clearly tell they're just hustling and networking because they think they'll get you ahead. I think if you can make genuine this industry and genuine connections, that's ultimately A, going to sustain you during the hard times, and B, those are the people who you will work with and bounce around with and collaborate with for years and decades to come. That's the first thing. The second thing is, I think you have to kind of just embrace the roller coaster ride. Like when I first moved to Hollywood, it was in the middle of this real tumultuous moment where a lot of writers were firing their agents over packaging, and that's a whole separate debate. But it was a very chaotic moment, and people were saying, "Oh my gosh, well, could this be the end of Hollywood?" And then right after that, the pandemic hit, and people were thinking, "Oh my gosh, well, could this be the end of Hollywood?" And then after that, just as things were starting to get back on their feet, there were the writer strikes and the actor strikes, and could this be the end of Hollywood? And now we're seeing, these mergers and all this chaos, and people again are asking the question. I think rumors of the entertainment industry's demise are greatly exaggerated, but it's always been a chaotic time as long as I've been here, and I think that's just sort of the status quo. You need to have things in your life that are going to sustain you and help you beyond just material success, because it's a difficult process, and I think it's a slower process, I think, for many people than they hope or expect, because everyone out here is supremely talented, right? And chasing a dream and trying to make it big, and it's very competitive. So I think, yes, the industry is mutating, changing, constantly evolving. That leads me maybe to my third piece of advice is study up, right? Read the trades, Variety, Deadline, Hollywood Reporter, listen to podcasts, like really try to understand the industry. I wish that I kind of maybe understood it a little bit better when I first got into it. It's been a real learning curve, and I think, obviously that's okay. We're all learning, but if you can have a sense of what's happening, if you can try to put your finger on the pulse even before you come out here, you're going to have so much more of an advantage. And then find those emerging markets, right? Like we're seeing, like the big trend of 2026 has been these YouTube creators, right, who have suddenly broken through in a really big way. And you see movies like Obsession or Backrooms, which were these YouTube creators who built an audience that way and then plugged themselves into the Hollywood system and had incredible breakout hits. And so that's a new thing. You have verticals, and that's a whole nother kettle of fish we could get into. But there's a lot of interesting things happening in the industry, and just being aware of what they are, being aware of how to make those work for your advantage, be able to find those niches where you can get in. You have to just be aware of what's going on.
Incredible. Great words of advice. Thank you, Isaac. Khaleesi, Isaac, thank you both. This has been a great episode of Mentorship Mike. Isaac, thanks for being a great mentor. I know that you're mentoring some young students that are entering the industry right now, so appreciate all you do on that end as well.
Yeah, if I could just maybe end with one thing. I've noticed this with people that I've heard, and which has been such a rewarding experience. But if you have a dream, if you want to work in this industry, if you do have faith, I mean, I think Hollywood is desperate for these ideas, and for that integrity and these forces. And I think, don't be afraid of it, right? I mean, obviously it's intimidating, obviously it's scary, but there's a lot of exciting things happening, and I think a lot of exciting things to come. And I would hate for people to hold back, to say, oh, maybe I don't think I could make it, without maybe even giving it that chance. It's a great place, and I've loved my career. It's taken a lot of twists and turns, but I've really had a lot of fun with it.
Incredible. Great words of wisdom there, Isaac. Thanks so much. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today, and we'll be back soon with another episode of Mentorship Mike.